Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a great day. This video is a review of the acrylic plate hard drive holder you can see here. This is basically an open enclosure for running a stack of hard drives and consists of two acrylic side plates and some mounting brackets for attaching a cooling fan. Although this is intended as an external enclosure, we'll also look at whether it can fit inside a PC. Okay, let's get into it. So here we have the package that arrived. It's got some instructions on the front there, explaining how it's all put together. We'll lift that up and there's some screws underneath. And at the front there, these are the mounting brackets for mounting the fan. So I'll just cut these screws off. These are the screws for screwing into the hard drive. Now this enclosure can hold 4 hard drives, so we need 16 screws, and there are the 16 screws here. This package at the front here is the fan mounting brackets. You can see that there's 4 of them here, and I'll pop those out. There's also a packet of screws inside. These are the screws for actually attaching the mounting brackets to the acrylic plates. And now let's open the bubble wrap here is just wrapped around just the acrylic plates. So all that's in here is just the 2 acrylic plates, which are the side plates. Now these are clear acrylic plates, but they do come with a protective coating like a sticker. So this just peels off and we'll see the clear plates once I peel those off. Okay, so here's the first one. They actually come off quite nicely. The hard bit is actually just getting the corner to start up. But as you can see, with the first one done, it comes off very cleanly, and the acrylic plates there, they're quite nice, quite clean. So here's the second one, we get that off, and this gives us a good view then of everything that's in the package. So this is basically everything that came in the package. Now the next step will be assembly. So I've got a couple of hard drives here. In fact, I've got 4 hard drives, but we'll just start off with 2. And I'll just put the instructions up here. Now just notice that the plates aren't symmetrical. There's a round hole and a slotted hole at each end, so they're a little bit different. So we'll put it together the way the instructions say. So that means that the circular hole here, that goes at the front of the hard drive, and the slotted hole goes at the back of the hard drive. And I'll just skip through this bit. You can see that I'm just screwing the screws in. And here we have one side screwed in. So then it's time to move on to the next hard drive. And this all screws in pretty easily. We just line up the holes and away we go. There's no problems getting those in. And time to move on to the other side. So we just flip it over. Line up the plate again, and then more screws. I always find this kind of relaxing, just screwing the screws in. And there we have it. And let me just turn it around so you can just have a look at it. Okay, so then the next step will be to mount the fan on the front. This particular enclosure did not come with any fans, so this is just a 120mm fan that I just had lying around. Now when you do this, don't make the mistake that I've made here. I made the cable come out the bottom, which means that the enclosure is going to sit on top of the cable, so any orientation except the one I've got here. So I'll just place the mounting brackets in place. As you can see, they actually fit between the fan and the acrylic plates. And you can't see it from this angle, but you've got to screw them into the fan first. Now I've got here in my hands a bit out of view, but 2 packets of those fan mounting screws. The silver ones here, these are the ones that came with the enclosure, and these screw in from the side. And then this other set that I've got here, the black ones, these are the ones that came with the fan. What we've got to do first is to screw the mounting brackets onto the fan. You can't screw these in with the enclosure in place because the enclosure is in the way, so you have to screw these on first, screw these onto the fan first. And once they're attached to the fan, then you attach the fan and bracket assembly onto the enclosure. So I'll just do that now, but as I've said, this is the wrong orientation, I'll go through and fix that up later, but for now, this is what we've got. Okay, so now that the 4 mounting brackets are attached to the fan, we've got to fit this to the front of the assembly here. It's a little bit tight, but that's fine. That they can stretch out a little bit. Just stretch it out, slide it on, and there we have it. The next step is we have to put the screws into the brackets from the acrylic plastic side, the acrylic sheet side. So for this we use the screws that came with the enclosure. Now these are the silver ones, and what you'll note is you can't screw them on from the outside. These have to go from the inside. So you just need a long screwdriver. It's a little bit tricky with the screwdriver I've got here. It's just a tad short. Might be helpful to have a long one, but they will screw in. As you can see, they screw in fairly easily. Okay, so I'll just do the screws top and bottom, both sides, and that's it. So let's have a look at the whole thing put together. So I said this is just with the 2 hard drives in there. I actually have some more hard drives, so I might go and add a couple more, and then you can have a look at what it looks like with 4. I'll just skip straight through that. Okay, so here we have the final assembly with the 4 hard drives put in. As you can see down the bottom here, there's plenty of room underneath. Hopefully you can see from this angle there's little gaps, about 5mm gaps between the hard drives. So they're not going to retain heat. You're not going to have the heat get build up inside. And here I've just put that fan box on the bottom so you can see just how much room there is at the bottom, just in case. It might be a bit hard to see with a clear acrylic plate. And as I said earlier, I've mounted the fan the wrong way, so the cable's coming out of the bottom and it's going to get squashed. So I'll have to take the fan off and rotate it 90 degrees to get that cable coming out the side. So I'm just fast forwarding through this. But as you can see, I have to actually rotate the brackets on the fan to do this 90-degree rotation. It only takes about 5 minutes. Okay, so once that's rotated, we just put it back on and screw the screws in. You can see from this angle already that the cable's coming out the side now. So it won't matter if we can put that on the desk, no problem, or where we want to sit it on. And the only other thing to note here is I've got the fan arranged so that the air is coming in through the front, and that will blow in through those little gaps. I don't think you could have this as a pull configuration. You couldn't suck the air out. It's not going to flow through the hard drive if you try that. There's too much space around it. So next, let's see if we can fit it into a case. Now here I've got a brand new case. Well, rather it's a very old case, but it's brand new. A 12-year-old design, but a brand new case. Now, where are you going to put it? Because obviously here, the power supply unit's going to go there, the motherboard's going to go there, and this bottom part's going to be filled with hard drives. Now what this one does, and this is one of the reasons you might get a 12-port stack like this, as you can see, I've got the front panel ready to come off because it's hard to get off. But this one, the top part of the case has space for 5 1/4 inch drives, which means the CD, you can see there's space for 2 CD-ROM drives in there. But if I take this off, you can see actually at the top, there's actually space at the top here. So the cutout is only 2 drives high, but there's actually a lot more space here. And how much space is there? Can we fit? And the answer is yes, we can. So not from the front, there's a little lip here. You can see my hands go over there, but if we slide the stack in, ooh, a bit dangerous. Almost lost the whole lot, that would have been. Okay, so this can it fit? Kind of. So the answer is kind of. So it can, and I'll turn it around and you can see that there is space.
you can fit the whole 4 drives. If you've got a case like this with a bit of space at the top, it will fit. But there's no way to really hold it in there. It just sits there loose. And what you'd normally do with this kind of arrangement, there are little adapters. This is an adapter for putting 3.5-inch drives. So let me do this more slowly. An adapter for putting 3.5-inch drives into a 5.25-inch bay. And normally this side goes to the edge, and you screw your hard drive in there, and you'll have a matching one on this side. But these are meant to go flush with the hard drive. And what you'll notice, I'll take this one back out. Because of the thickness, it adds an extra thickness. So you can't attach this on the outside. And what about on the bottom? Well, you can't even, it won't fit. No matter how you do it, you can't use these. There's no way to really get it in there. You might be able to do just one side. There is enough room that one side could be screwed in, and you'd have to screw it along, but this is really heavy. And I don't think just one little bracket like this has got enough strength to hold this. There's 4 hard drives, so you can pick up 4 hard drives and feel how heavy it is. This is meant to carry the weight of half a hard drive. So, yeah. So it's not ideal. The other way you might possibly be able to do it is use the front screw holes. Now I do have some brackets so you can see what I'm talking about. So I have a little bracket like this, which could, I don't know if you can see through there where my finger's highlighting where the screw hole would go. So you could screw in something like this. So that would attach to, let's see, I'll put this in and see if you can see it from the inside.
So you could potentially put this mounting bracket here, screw the side into the 5.25-inch mounting hole, and then screw your fan screw into the screw. But of course the problem is that you've only got a single screw point here, which is the fan screw, which is screwing into, in this case, a rubber mounting on the fan. And that's going to have to support the entire weight of all those hard drives.
The fan mountings are rubber mountings. They're there to absorb vibrations, which means they're much weaker. They're not strong at all. So you'd have a single connection, a single screw, or maybe you could do both sides and get 2 screws in there, but you can't get the top in because the bracket doesn't mount. And it's just a disaster waiting to happen, I think. Because you'd forget about it. One day you're going to lift the case up, and this is going to come, the screw will strip out of that rubber, and it'll come tearing back, and it'll smash through your CPU, or your CPU cooler, or your RAM. And as I said, this thing is heavy. It's very heavy. So it can't be used in a case like this, unfortunately. And as I said, there's no room on the bottom.
So really the only choice is to put it on the table or on the floor next to your computer. All right, so that's the end. I hope I've covered everything, all the questions you might have. Any comments or whatever, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you later.